Hop in here, Bronco, hold on to your pancakes, and take a drive with us as we return to Haven. This is Troubled, your favorite Rewatch podcast dedicated to the Sci-Fi Channel show Haven, based on the Stephen King novella, The Colorado Kid. I'm your first host in our Father-Son podcast. My name is Alex French.
And I'm the French with the highest blood pressure, Rich. Thank you for listening.
All right, so we're doing episode 7. That's Sketchy. Pretty easy to guess kind of what's going on in it, but we're going to give you the summary like we do anyway. All right, so the episode starts, and we got a bunch of dudes drinking on a boat. Just kind of one of them's being an asshole, and he's trying to get his other rich buddies in on an investment or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they've been burned by him before, so they're like, no thanks.
Right, and then he's being a douchebag, demanding beer from the girl, the waitress on the kind of party boat type thing. And then all of a sudden his legs start fucking breaking dramatically in like 90-degree angles. And it happens to his arm too, right? He kind of reaches out and that snaps in half. Yeah. And we meet kind of the captain of the boat. He's kind of like, all right, whatever, you know, kind of walks away, right? And then before the leg snapping.
Yeah, Captain Richards. And then kind of a tool.
Kind of a tool. It seems like everybody on the boat was except the girl. So we go back to the police station. Jess and Nathan are flirting, Jess is flirting. I don't know. What would you say?
Yeah, it's she's there to report a fake trespasser.
And and
Nathan has shown us his complete lack of any skills with women and romance. And Audrey's helping him out the best she can and basically sets the date for them.
Right. So once that's kind of taken care of, they go to investigate. Audrey will not stop busting his balls about it. And, they go down, kind of figure out what's going on. Audrey touches the body, finds out it's graphite. And then they go to kind of interview some of the people. Like, she talks to the captain, not much there, right?
Yeah, no, he doesn't really give her anything, Captain Richards, But
what is the dad, the beer girl's dad, right?
Yeah, Alec, her dad, Alec. I thought we were going to get a chance to have a character with your name, but close, but no cigar. No cigar. So, the dad doesn't know why the girl, her and her fiance, Jimmy, are working there. Vicky is her name. So Vicky, Jimmy, I can tell none of them really like doing the work because the wealthy people don't treat them very well. So, but they don't really have any motive so far that anyone could tell. So they're grasping for straws on what's behind this.
So then they go to the Grey Gull, talk to Duke, really nothing there. He's planning a surprise birthday party or something. Realtor dies in their office, getting scrapes down their body, kind of like parallel lines down the body. The dad, Alec, was present again. And we go to investigate, take the dad back to the station because he's the most likely suspect, right? And then during the interrogation.
Right, because he was there at both scenes. So obviously that's the first choice, but then he explains he was there to sell his house, and which will come up later. Audrey tries to provoke him and bring out his trouble, which it doesn't. He just yells. Nothing explodes or anything like that or crumples and that. So it's not him, but Nathan was no fan of her approach.
Right, and so they figure out the graphite, what it's coming, or isn't it charcoal or something?
Yeah, it's graphite charcoal for sketching.
Right, so they figure out for sketching, hence the episode title. And so they go to the art supply store to figure out. They find out that Jimmy bought it. So, we also find out that what do we find out about Nathan?
Nathan likes to decoupage. So
which Audrey will not stop. Audrey will not stop busting his balls about that too.
Yeah, decoupage is really interesting. It's like you take objects on like paper and you put them on surfaces of furniture. You can do it on canvases, and then you keep applying coats of clear varnish, which makes the colors more popping. It makes the object look like they're originally part of that piece of furniture.
Yeah.
And in Nathan's case, it makes the colors brighter for him since he has heightened senses because he can't feel.
Sure. And so they go to, they figure out since Jimmy bought that, they go to confront Jimmy, and they want to figure out, it's got to be Jimmy, right? Jimmy looks suspicious, kind of a dick. And in the process, though, his mouth gets erased and then his eyes get erased and his ears get shut too, right? So
right, yeah. And interesting part of that is they brought old Jess Minion there with their tranquilizer gun to shoot him if he started
right
using his powers.
So she's waiting in the weeds to take him out. After that, they take Jimmy to Eleanor's house. Jimmy is, completely incapacitated. Eleanor gives Audrey a pep talk. Kind of being like, yeah, you're gonna find this. You're gonna find this. But Nathan and Jess talk.
Yeah, Nathan is, upset that he involved her in this, that it's too dangerous. So he kind of loses his temper with her and tells her to go home because he doesn't want her to be involved and get hurt.
Right. And so our next parts, there's a bit of a back and kind of a bunch of like scenes that, to simplify, they go to talk to Vicky, since now she's kind of the last one left to ask. She won't really reveal anything. So they go to her house.
They know she's hiding something.
Right. So they go to her house, find her art studio open, and they find her painting or her drawings and shit. And Audrey touches a picture of Nathan and he goes flying across the room. So now we know who's doing these drawings or who's kind of got the trouble.
Who's got the trouble, right? We know it's Vicky, and it's just interesting. Working part-time because you don't make much as a teacher and you have a gigantic art studio in a gigantic house. So
well, her dad's rich, maybe not really, since he's working on the boat. Anyway, we go to the hospital to talk to the initial dude who broke his legs and find out that Vicky's dad and him all owed the captain of the ship a bunch of money because they had been gambling out on the ocean. We kind of put two and two together and they find Vicky and figure everything out, that Vicky's dad, Alec, owed the captain. And so the captain found out what Vicky could do and has been using the paintings to,
Right. And that's, the reason why he would be trying to sell his house to pay off his debt.
Right. Trying to sell off his house to pay the debt. And then the captain is having Vicky draw, was it like a pier or something? Like a...
he's having her draw this this building that by the pier that he wanted to buy, and that real estate deal fell through. So clearly he wants to now destroy the fucking building, because if I can't have it, no one can.
Yeah, and everybody who's not been paying their debts, he's been hurting with the pictures that Vicky draws. And since Jimmy might have spilled the beans, he erased Jimmy's face.
Well, who got it worse was the realtor, Joe Santamero. What a last name they came up with there. He got shredded.
Yeah, he didn't even... The rest of them got to live. He died. So we find out the truth. Now it's time to go, take it to the captain. Duke shows up because he's been smuggling wine and stuff and selling it to the captain.
Right, because the captain has high-end clients, and Duke can come up with rare stuff and goods. And he shows up with some port wine that was liberated from someone's cellar in France who had died.
Duke is selling them this, wine, and then Audrey and Nathan come. So Duke, doesn't want to be seen by the cops. He hides down below. They confront him, but he's got a drawing of Olive Haven, and he kind of gives them a demo of what he's going to do to the town if they don't, fucking leave him alone. And he destroys the church tower. Yeah,
the church steeple. It's a view from what's called King's Point that shows Olive Haven. So he basically has power over the entire town. So at that point, Captain Richards refuses to give them the drawing and release Alec. He refuses, like we mentioned, threatens to destroy the town, and then tells Vicky she needs to give him drawings of Audrey and Nathan. And they refuse. That's when all of a sudden Richards goes flying, and then we see Duke found the picture of drawn of Richards. And then he released Vicky's dad, Alec.
Unfortunately, in the scuffle, as they're trying to, Richard's kind of trying to, make one last attempt to get out of this. He knocks he knocks the drawing right into the water. Nathan tries to get it, but they can't. And Captain Richards ends up drowning because his painting is underwater. And so because Duke, teamed up with everybody and everybody wins. Everybody saves the day. So at the end, we kind of get a scene of, Nathan and Jess, doing their little dates. Nathan's got a bottle of wine with him. I wonder if it's the same one. And then Audrey is at the Grey Gull with Duke, right?
Right. Yeah. Nathan hid the bottle of wine behind his back. It was a cute little scene. And then And then Audrey and Duke are at the Grey Gull, and Audrey finds it hard to thank Duke, so she's buying martinis so that she could build up a tab and give him a really good tip, as a way of thanking him, and then Duke basically tells her, whatever your expectations of me and all men, lower them.
That's it for episode 7, right?
Yep.
What did you think about this one?
Well, it's funny. When I first watched it the first time, I thought, you know what? This is like almost like a filler episode because there's nothing, you don't get no advancement on the Colorado Kid story whatsoever. And just, I thought it was just like an episode that was there to fill time initially. But I did, and then when I did my detailed viewing with taking lots of notes, that's when I was like, well, I really don't like this episode. I think I had it at a 4 on the Frenchometer. I moved it up to a 5, and then after watching it today, because I in all honesty, I did my work on this episode 2 weeks ago. So today I rewatched it and I liked it a lot better. I let myself not be so critical and enjoy the banter, because there's some really great banter between Audrey and Nathan and Duke throughout it. So I ended up enjoying the episode a lot. And I did think because at first I was like, well, you could take this episode out of the season and it wouldn't make any difference to the story. But I think there probably was some development in the relationship between Duke and Audrey. So there, and then obviously development between Nathan and Jess. So.
Right. Yeah. I thought it was a pretty fun episode. It's pretty easy to guess kind of what's going on. It was like titled Sketchy. Obviously I knew that episode title and I was like, oh, okay, so somebody's drawing someone to death or something. Like pretty easy to guess. I was like, oh, they want us to think it's Jimmy, but it can't be Jimmy because he's the obvious one.
Yeah, it was their usual, first it's Alec. No, not Alec. Then it's Jimmy. No, then it's Vicky. But then Vicky's being the muscle for Captain Richard. So, it's kind of that formula that they follow often where they get red herrings here and there, and then they finally get to the actual troubled person. Yeah.
Some things I thought were weird was the kind of inclusion of Duke didn't always do it for me. There was like the first time they go kind of didn't really like serve any kind of purpose. And the second time they mentioned the smuggling. So I was like, okay, that's, why they're kind of bringing this up, why they keep going here. But it just kind of felt like they
were forcing them into the scenes.
Yeah, he was good in the end. I liked his usage in the end scene, but the stuff before that's kind of like, yeah, you need to build like a better reason, because they're like, oh, we got a crime, let's talk to Duke. And it's like, or is that the go-to for there's a crime in Haven, you go to Duke?
I'm actually going to defend them on that one.
Okay.
Because they went to Duke because it was he's a sailor, he's a ship captain, and this happened on a ship. So he's a nautical expert, and he's like, the sea be mysterious and dangerous. He has absolutely no help whatsoever, but it's flimsy. And
also, what do they expect him to do though? They're like, hey, there's a crime on a boat, and he's like, oh, I happen to know exactly what you guys need and what you're talking about. Like, what's he gonna reveal to them? Like, what's he gonna reveal to them that they don't, like, what would he know? Is he like, oh yeah, by the way, there's some crazy like crimper thing that snaps people's legs in half that's on that boat, like a giant bear trap? Like, he doesn't know.
Yeah, fair, but he is a nautical expert. Now, Nathan knows plenty about boats too, because his dad has a boat. So
well, he's clearly unhappy about being there too, though.
No, well, and I'll tell you why he's unhappy, and that's because at the end of the previous scene, and Nathan's like, "Well, where to next?" Well, you're not going to like it, but let's go get some lunch. And that would have been the perfect opportunity for him to say, "No, I'm not going to like it if it's not pancakes."
They should have gotten lobster rolls, right?
It's missed an opportunity to bring pancakes into it. That's a central staple of the show, in my opinion. Practically a cast member.
I liked the bit I loved the way he died. I kind of wish he like deteriorated into mush, but that obviously would take a lot more special effects and stuff. But I really like the idea of the drawing falling into the water. I thought that was a really clever way for him to kill off the villain.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, and brings me a question. What do you think of Nathan's efforts to retrieve the sketch from the water?
Well, I just don't understand what tool he was using. It was like it looked like
pulling. boats. Yeah, you like small like rowboat type things. You use the hook to pull it in and then dock it. But what was he gonna do? Like, because it had that little hook on the end, like spear it through him. You know,
because at first they show him holding like a pole of some kind. And I was like, oh, he's got like, you know, one of those nets, you know, for like I don't know, like he's to catch fish or whatever.
Yeah, fishing net would have worked. Yeah,
I was like, oh, there's a net on the end of that. And then when they do like a close up in the water, it's like a like hook spear thing. And I was like, whoa, like what are you gonna do? Like you're gonna impale him to save him?
Yeah, and I thought, you know, if you know, this he's a criminal, he needs to go to jail, but you know, doesn't necessarily kill him. Wouldn't that warrant jumping into the water to grab it? Because
I guess that's true.
If he jumps into the water, he can definitely get it and save the life. But you know, he's like, I'm not getting wet. No. So I just found that kind of odd. I was like, he could have easily jumped in and saved the drawing.
Do you know how cold the main water is?
Human life.
I don't know.
Even if it's a cruddy guy, who probably deserved it.
So let's talk about Jess. This episode was a big kind of what the fuck from me with all scenes regarding Jess. That was probably the only aspect of the episode I didn't like. I thought it was a fun little episode. I was enjoying myself, except pretty much the opening scene of Jess was good, but then her showing up with the fucking rifle being like, oh yeah, it turns out I hunt. And it's like, what? You were just in the last episode defending animals, which Audrey even says, and she's like, oh, well, I shoot them with like a trank. It's like, you still kill them and eat them.
Eat them, yeah, because Cece's saying that venison was on the menu for their date.
Right, so what the fuck? Like, when we just also established that Dave is a hunter, wouldn't it make sense to bring Dave along? Like, I know the chief probably wouldn't, because Chief was like, I'm fucking busy, you know, doing nothing.
Dave probably doesn't have tranquilizer darts, because Dave is killing for sport. She's killing to eat.
It was such a weird excuse that they clearly needed somebody to be there with a trank gun, and they picked Jess, and they were trying to like ramrod Jess into this episode and put her in such weird roles. And then later when Nathan's like, you know, you need to get away from me, I'm weird, and like this is dangerous. Like,
you're a normal girl.
Yeah,
you're a normal girl.
Fuck out of here. It's like, what is this? Like, oh my god, this is the CW special. Am I watching Arrow? Like I hate things where the guy, and this isn't so much a trend now. It was definitely a huge trend in every TV show like 10 years ago, was a male protagonist telling like the woman, this life's too dangerous for you. Like you can't, you know, I don't want you around for this. And it's like, oh dude, shut up. Like, can we get over this like old tired writing cliche? It's the Spider-Man special, right? Where like, my life's too dangerous, Mary Jane, I can't have you around. When it's like, oh, fuck off. Like,
yeah, it's I didn't enjoy that scene at all, but it does set up for like the reconciliation date, which was kind of cute. But
it didn't need to be a reconciliation. It could just be the date. It could be, you know, they set up a date at the beginning, so they execute on the date at the end. And the clever thing is like, oh, I took one of Duke's bottles of wine without him knowing, you know, like that could be the cute moment, right? Like instead of like, hey, remember when I yelled at you for absolutely no reason and seemingly no point in that plot? Like, I don't know what she was like.
Because he cares about her. He doesn't want her to get hurt. And this is a particularly tough trouble because Vicky does a sketch of her, and they didn't even understand the depth of it. I could kind of see wanting to keep her away, not the way he did it. No. I'd be like, hey, this shit's getting like a little too dangerous, and we don't know enough yet. Why don't we pick back up? After, but politely, not the
get out of here,
CW. Yeah.
There's a lot of his dad coming out, right, pushing people.
I walk
away.
alone.
Another question I had was when they were talking to the real estate person, they were like, "Oh yeah, what was the real estate guy's name?"
Oh, John Santamero,
Santamero. Like the lady they were talking to about it afterwards was like, oh yeah, he's dealing with the less desirables of Haven. I was like, who are the less desirables of Haven?
Haven.
Like,
yes.
Wait, are you talking about like Duke, or are you like, who are you talking about here?
What is the grimy underbelly of Haven like, and who does it? Who hails from it? Right.
It was just I just didn't know who they were like talking about, and I was like, you guys are like some small like who is there like a. I don't know, is there like a meth infested area like of Haven where it's like a lot, don't go to this, blah, blah, blah street. It's full of like meth addicts.
your late grandmother lived in on 4 acres in rural Wisconsin, and insisted there was raving gangs of teenage Chinese people that wreaking havoc through Adams County. And I was like, Mom, what? No, there can't be. What are you talking about?
I guess that's the undesirables of Haven, or roving gangs of teens.
That's right. Ne'er-do-wells with their cigarettes rolled up in their sleeve. And, wait, that's the 50s and 60s. And that's a Travolta movie. A couple things of note. They did slip in one King reference, as far as I can tell. King's Point, the spot where you can see the whole city. So, we like give them a lot. Yeah. Well, this is a big one. Both of us, I noticed, know this. Audrey is from Ohio.
In the pilot, we saw like another city that she was living in. So I really wonder, was that supposed to be Ohio? I guess she could be stationed somewhere else, because I think I read that was like Boston, or supposed to be Boston, but I suppose it could be a different city, because that doesn't look like Cleveland or like Akron or Columbus or any other city in Ohio that I can think of. How does that sound, Audrey being from Ohio? Does that sound
I never would have pegged it, because
she doesn't seem like an Ohio person to me.
Former employer of mine had offices in Ohio and by Cleveland, the Cleveland kind of surrounding area, and I spent some time there. To be honest with you, it reminds me a lot of where I grew up in Milwaukee, in Wisconsin.
Yeah, as a more Ohio's classic Midwest, and Audrey just doesn't have a Midwest vibe to me. Like,
no, well, but the thing is, what I found is that a lot of the folks, and I'm not talking smack about people from Cleveland. Like I said, I had a lot of great coworkers there, but the setting is like the Midwest. The people are closer to East Coast, actually. Because Cleveland and Pittsburgh aren't very far apart, where we had two offices, and they're definitely have the kind of the pace of life of East Coast folks. So I actually, now the more I think about it, Audrey could be from Ohio. Yeah.
She gives me a West Coast vibe, honestly. Like, she doesn't give me like a East Coast vibe or a Midwest vibe or a Southern vibe. She gives me like
she doesn't give me a Southern vibe.
Yeah.
No.
I'd say she gives me a West Coast vibe.
Yeah, see, like I said, I find Ohio people, and that is not to say every person from Ohio acts like they're from Boston. Okay, it's not. Yeah, your cousin from Boston. No, it's that's like in the Sam Adams commercials. Are pretty funny.
I like the King's Point thing a lot. To get back to that, I think it's cool because I don't know, maybe other TV shows do it, but I know I read comic books a lot. And that's something they consistently do, is if there's like a location, because in comic books, the geography is always, like Gotham City and Metropolis and shit. The geography is always, shifting to whatever the writer needs to kind of get done. So they'll always name locations after famous people who have like worked on it. And I'm sure it happens in TV shows a bunch too, and movies. But it's always cool because you'll be reading, like Batman, they'll be going to like Finger Street, which is named after like Bill Finger, the writer of the original Batman, or like Kane Park. So I like the little nod to Stephen King for King's Point. And it makes sense. It's cool. Like King, top of the hierarchy, highest place in Haven, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no, I liked it as well, and I appreciate them, giving a shout out to King. It's he gave them his story was the genesis for it. So,
real quick, Wallace in a hospital reveals what he was betting on, and after hearing it, he deserved to have his legs broken in half and his arm broken for betting on the fucking Jets to win.
See, and you asked the question that, hey, would Haven work in 2020? Yes, because the Jets still suck. So
I think those are the undesirables of Haven, Maine, are the Jets fans.
People who vote for the Jets. Yeah, that's Audrey even calls them out on it. She's like, seriously, you bet on the Jets? That was hilarious. I laughed at that.
I guess Maine fans would be Patriots fans, right?
They should be. I can't see any.
What about Bills? Would there be any Bills fans?
Nah, that's upstate New York.
Well, this guy wasn't betting on the Bills. He was betting on the Jets like an idiot. We have another Saw alumnus on this episode. The guy who plays Jimmy is named Devin Bostick. He was in Saw 6. This is probably the only podcast where you can hear somebody who knows the Saw series that well to recognize.
I don't think I got that far with it. I mean,
you did. We saw Saw 6 and we saw Saw 2 through 7 in theaters together. We saw every one of them together, you and me.
I forget some things nowadays.
I mean, they're pretty forgettable. I was like, the only one we didn't see together was Jigsaw, which came out in 2017, I want to say. And
I've never seen Jigsaw. Yeah.
It's not very good, but it's better than Saw 6 and 7. So yeah, just another Saw alumnus to add to the list. I wonder how many we're going to end up with. I would love if Tobin Bell snuck in there, but as far as my memory, he didn't.
Yeah, I would love if Tobin Bell was in there, but I think we would have noticed at the time.
He could have. Well, Saw was still happening, I think, when Haven, or it was just ending, I think, when Haven was starting. But we could have had Tobin Bell as the Rev. We should have casted Tobin Bell as the Rev, a vengeful, angry old guy.
Yeah, he could have worked.
Is he as good as Jack Nicholson? I don't know.
I mean, we're talking acting chops here. I mean, Nicholson's got the Oscars.
Speaking of high quality work, the director of this episode, T.W. Peacock, what a name for starters. But T.W. Peacock just did a movie last year in 2019 with Colin Ferguson, who plays William and stars in one of our favorite shows, Eureka. The movie is called Christmas in Montana. Sounds like a winner.
Yeah, sounds like a Hallmark movie that even your late grandma would have probably passed on.
What do you think she would take? Watching Christmas in Montana or dealing with the roving gangs of Adams County? I don't know. I would guess dealing with the roving gangs, honestly.
Yeah, she was feisty. Yeah, she thought she could take anyone on.
I think we should do a watch 5 minutes of Christmas in Montana and just in a future episode, we'll give a quick 5 minute. We'll watch 5 minutes and then take 5 minutes to talk about what we thought of the 5 minutes of Christmas in Montana or something. Maybe it's like a special mini episode, like a 10-minute episode or something.
Well, you see, but that's the type of dedication we have to our listeners. We're willing to watch a Hallmark movie just for the benefit of our listeners. So, I mean, I think that's pretty cool.
It doesn't get more torturous than that. I guess maybe if we watched an Oxygen movie.
Or a Lifetime movie.
Yeah, where, Lifetime.
Apparently, once a man gets married, he has to murder his wife. It's not an option.
Well, speaking of Lifetime movies, I thought that's kind of where the episode was going. For a brief second, when Nathan was holding the wine bottle behind his back, I have no idea what I was thinking, but it looked like a knife in my mind for like a split second. So I was like, whoa. Is Nathan gonna kill Jess, or threaten her? But maybe that's what she's into, since she's into like witchcraft stuff.
Yeah, maybe. You never know. They sacrificed the deer.
Maybe that's what Nathan was referring to. He's like, no, you're normal. Like maybe Nathan's sexual appetite is much darker than we.
Darker. Yeah. Well, he doesn't feel. So you're talking. You're gonna have to do some cutting and strutting.
Yeah, I think it was in the Patreon episode, but we mentioned. That maybe Nathan was a bedwetter, and now we're talking about this. Nathan under us would be a pretty crazy character, not the nice guy, normal guy he is.
Oh yes, there'd be layers upon layers of Nathan with us. Yeah, Lucas Bryant's probably not going to come on the show.
What the fuck is wrong with these guys?
What are these assholes?
They got like a sexual deviant, or maybe he really is, and he's like, oh shit, they're on to me.
We're talking about Nathan Warnos though, not Lucas Bryant. We love Lucas Bryant,
but maybe we got him sweating. Maybe he's like, how did they find out? How did they know?
Yeah. My last question for you. What did you think of This Trouble? I think you touched on it a little earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I thought it was, that's the fun of these shows, is you're always getting new kind of case of the week, right? We're like, what are they going to come up with next? So I thought it was fun. It was really easy to guess. The second his legs broke, I was like, oh, it's some kind of drawing or some shit. Like somebody scribbled on a piece of paper a drawing of him or something. And basically, because you could, if you know the episode title, I guess if you didn't know the episode title, it'd be harder. But once it was episode title Sketchy, then I was like, it's somebody's drawing on the paper. And maybe I just remember, but I really don't remember this. I don't remember a bunch of these episodes. So it didn't ring in my memory like Butterfly when Audrey was getting roped up in that horrible scene. I was like, oh, I remember the first time I watched this. This one didn't bring back memories, but I liked The Trouble. I thought it was interesting. I liked the idea. This is kind of our first time, or we've had similar cases, but this is kind of the first time somebody's taken really criminal behavior and manipulating, I think, someone else's trouble to that degree. I thought that was interesting, that the captain was kind of manipulating Vicky and using her drawings. Like he was full out bad guy at the end. He was full on like, like, I don't know, like he was out of Speed or some Stallone movie where he was like, I'm gonna blow up this whole town if you guys don't give me what I want. It's like, Jesus, you're like, I thought this was just like some gambling money, but you're willing to blow up the whole town, like, or tear the town in half.
Well, that's kind of what one of the notes I had from this was, Richard was a good old fashioned dirtbag type of, loan sharking, gambling, that sort of thing. But fuck, did it escalate?
Yeah.
I mean, he had plans, man.
This guy's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, he went to evil mastermind status from, petty criminal to evil mastermind status. Man. Like,
can you imagine how angry he was? He had a perfect setup. He had an idiot who would bet on the Jets every time. He's like, that's guaranteed money. And now my whole plan is ruined. So I'm not surprised he had a lot of anger and wanted to, destroy this town. But I liked the high stakes. I liked how I enjoyed how far it escalated. I wasn't expecting it to get to the levels it did.
I didn't. That's got to be the highest stakes yet this season, right?
Yes, as far as I can remember.
I can't remember another one where it was destroying the entire town. I mean,
maybe if Bobby dreamt about in episode 2 Butterfly, maybe if Bobby dreamt about like the town drowning or something, maybe he could submerge. Maybe he has a dream about an earthquake or something. But so far, we haven't had anything this destructive.
Well, maybe Marion's a power with, her X-Men Storm action.
Oh,
maybe
true.
Maybe that could, but this is still better,
Yeah.
because he could just literally snuff the entire town out,
Yeah, what if he crumpled the paper or, dropped the paper in the water? What would happen? Would the town like submerge underwater?
Flood? Yeah, go all Atlantis on us, yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
The lost city of Haven.
Yeah, season 2 is going to be very high budget in that case.
All shot underwater.
But if the show got canceled at episode 7, they could, just have it end with the town getting destroyed and just call it a day. Yeah. Which isn't the case because they got the full season order right at the beginning. But
right. So
worst case scenario.
They knew. Yeah. I think that's the only things really notes I had. I did have one other one, was that we didn't get any Teagues or Chief in this one, which kind of sad. Because I enjoyed the characters, but I thought there was enough comedy from the between Nathan, Duke, and Audrey that we really didn't miss them that much, because they pulled like Audrey was on fire this episode. Mm-hmm. She was slinging the whole time, and it was great. So I like that.
We did get a bigger dosage of Eleanor though. So even though we didn't get the Teagues and the Chief, we got more Jess Minion, we got more Eleanor. I think they filled in nicely. And because Duke's scenes were almost superfluous as it was, I don't know if I want to throw in any of the other characters.
Oh, he was hiding a surprise birthday party for a teacher. So I mean, they had to get there. Oh, he's a scoundrel, but has a heart of gold still underneath.
Yeah, I thought Eleanor's pep talk with Audrey was a good scene. It's nice seeing Eleanor step up into the mentor role for her. I just thought it was kind of funny where, Audrey was like, I got to catch this guy. And Eleanor's like, oh, you'll figure out the troubles. And I was like, what are you giving her the pep talk now? I was like, this is 6 episodes too late. Like, you should have been giving her the pep talk a little, maybe on the tennis court when the guy aged to death in front of her, she could use the pep talk.
Yeah, that was, but she did. And the thing is, Doc Eleanor's got to know more. She's not revealing it. Oh, why not start helping Audrey? It's like,
well, that's every person in town is like, hey, it turns out I know all this information that could save you a lot of time and heartache, but I'm not going to tell you. That's the Chief. The Warnos is the Chief and the Teagues. The Warnos would be the Chief, the Teagues, and Eleanor are classic small town folks.
Oh yeah, and Duke's holding back some stuff that comes out later.
Yeah,
Duke's holding back some stuff.
But his, I feel like his is more like repression, or like, that he doesn't really want to. He likes kind of living. He kind of likes living in the moment and not addressing the darkness around him. Whereas the others are aware and are cryptic, right? They're like, oh, well, we could help you, but you got to figure it out yourself. Duke is kind of like, it's fully repressed. Like, that stuff's not coming out until it absolutely has to, when it, later on down the road.
Right. It's what we'll say the older generation in Haven. They have a lot of knowledge of what's going on, and they could, but then again, that would cut how many episodes out of the show. So, episodic television, you want
how long until Audrey says, okay, boomer, to somebody, do you think?
I just don't think that was a thing in 2010, but
they should do a director's cut where that's her answer to the chief whenever he's grouchy with her.
For the record, not a boomer, Xer, Gen Xer.
I was going to say maybe you're similar age to our main trio, but I think they're like 10 years younger than you, right? I would guess. I'd say they're probably like approaching 40 now.
Definitely. I think they were in their early 30s at the time. I would say some of them, and Audrey was probably 30 at most. Yeah.
So they're probably my generation, right? Millennials.
Yeah, I believe they'd be millennials. I can't remember.
But they'd be on the super early end, I think, right? And I'm on the super late end.
And it depends which resource you get it from.
True.
My friend Ben was born in 82, and on one website had him as the last year of the Xers. And
whereas I've seen 82 be like the beginning of millennials.
See, so it depends on which resource you go with on that.
Do you bust Ben's balls about being a millennial?
I do, and then he comes back with
I'm an Xer.
He finds this website that shows he's an Xer.
So he looks through for the source that provides the answer he's looking for.
That's right. Hey, you're a millennial, and you're my favorite son. Please.
Yeah. That's kind of all it for the episode, right? Mm-hmm. I think we've kind of gone through everything we wanted to. So we're going to move into our last.
Did you give it a numeric rating? I don't recall.
Oh, I didn't. Did you give it a numeric rating?
Yeah, I told you. I thought I said it started out as wanting a 4, gave it a 5, and then moved it up to a 6.
Okay.
On the Frenchometer. That's
right. I would have to give it. What's the art style Nathan does?
Decoupage.
I give it 6 decoupage. I don't even know if they're drawings. Decoupage sketches out of 10. For me, like a 6 is like it's okay. Like a 7 is like good, and okay is like fun. It's a fun episode. It doesn't really excel in a ton of places, but doesn't really do. There's really only, like I said, one scene I don't like. I just don't like that scene with Jess and Nathan. Other than that, it's all good, but nothing's like great, right? Nothing really pushes it over the top. So it's like, it's a good episode. Yeah, you need episodes like this in the middle, right?
Right, of a 13 episode season. Right. So I ended up in the same place you were. I find it funny. It's when I'm taking notes, I end up being harsher than I am when I'm just watching it and enjoying it.
Okay, so to kind of move on, we got a new our little segment at the end here. It's going to be something different than what we did before. Last time we did like a fan casting. This time we're going to announce, to kind of tie into our Patreon. One thing we thought would be cool to do for all our Patreon members would be to give them how people put their names through a like Wu-Tang Name Generator. We're going to kind of put all our Patreon members' names through the French Haven Name Generator. So if you join us on Patreon and join our first tier, we'll kind of give you some crazy ass nickname that we've made up that, is Haven, has our comedic sensibilities with a Haven kind of like theming to it.
Haven theme, maybe Stephen King.
Yeah. To broaden that to King as well. To kind of celebrate the moment, I put all of the kind of Haven main characters' names through the Wu-Tang generator. My dad doesn't know any of the names yet. I've kept it secret from him to surprise him too. So you can kind of get his reactions and we'll see kind of how the Wu-Tang Name Generator did on their names to see if they kind of are fitting names for everybody.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm more of a Tribe Called Quest guy, an Atmosphere guy, but I do like Wu-Tang. I mean, I could be RZA.
Do those generations what's the age? What's the difference in like time periods between peak Wu-Tang and peak?
Yeah, Tribe was started in late 80s and really started peaking early 90s.
So that matches. Atmosphere is a bit later. So
Atmosphere is later. It's it's just demonstrating that I still do listen to some hip hop. Not a lot,
just a name drop,
but some.
All right,
cool dad, right? Yeah.
Okay, so to start, I put our names through our two hosts' names through the Wu-Tang Name Generator. I've teased him a bit with that. I thought mine came out pretty well, and his it's pretty funny. So when I put my name through Alex French, I put my shortened first name, not Alexander. It came out as Adventure Undo.
Adventure Undo. That was
that's a pretty cool one. Yeah, I like that.
That sounds like a cheap cologne from the 80s. Yeah.
Maybe I can get Eric Balfour to sponsor this cologne, be the spokesperson for Adventure Undo.
Hey, he's a fan of the podcast, I'm sure.
Richard French, I put your full name.
I go by Rich. The only people who call me Richard are my late mom and your mother.
So people that I have interacted with a lot. So I put Richard French through. It came out as Bell-toed hot.
Bell-toed hot? Is that like told as like
no TOAD, like the animal, a toad? Bell-toed hot.
That is horrible.
I told you.
Fuck? Bell-toed hot.
So you gotta admit, Adventure Undo is a lot better than Bell-toed hot.
Yeah, Bell-toed. Fuck, I got toad in it. Just anytime you got toad. I mean, unless it's Toad the Wet Sprocket. I mean, that's a whole different.
Well, hey, there it goes. It ties in.
Yes, okay. I do like Toad the Wet Sprocket, and just like Stephen King, I turned your mom on to them, and she'll probably tell you she turned me on to Toad the Wet Sprocket.
You're gonna have to listen to her podcast. Maybe she has like a parallel Warehouse 13 podcast going on. I'm just kidding. But if you guys want to hear more about his musical interests, our second Patreon episode is a album review of all the songs that are, not made for Haven that were included. And like we reviewed it as if it was a soundtrack. So if you go on Patreon, you can check that out as our second episode there.
I highly recommend that one. It's a really fun one.
So to get to the Haven character, I put the town Haven through the name generator. It came up with the name Conqueror Rational.
I don't even know what to say to that.
It's got a cool name, Conqueror Rational. It's absolutely insane, but I think it was a cool name. It's maybe Conqueror Rational is Wu-Tang for God's orphans, right?
Yeah, I don't know if the late ODB would approve of that one, but yeah,
I think it would. Probably everybody's names I put through. Audrey's name came out as Lord Dedicated Resentful.
Oh, that is, I don't know, man. That's, I mean.
I like it. She's dedicated to her job. She's, is anyone in Haven more dedicated to their job than her? So Lord Dedicated, I think, would fit. Resentful. Maybe as we get further down the road, later, there's things to be resentful. She's an orphan. She's an orphan. She's resentful about, people who had full families and stuff. So I get it. Lord Dedicated Resentful, maybe, could
so that's
fit.
What Audrey Parker came out as.
Yeah, Audrey Parker came out as Lord Dedicated Resentful.
Okay, I guess.
It's okay. Nathan Warnos came out as Cavalier Guilt. GILT version of the word. So Cavalier Guilt was Nathan.
I could see it actually, that he's guilty about being cavalier, and so he represses himself and doesn't share the true cavalier side of him.
It makes sense. Dukes was maybe the best. No, it's not quite the best, but it's pretty close to being the best. His name is Rascal Sunset. Rascal Sunset. Talk about a cologne, porn star name, whatever you want to come up with. But Rascal Sunset is a pretty awesome Wu-Tang name for Duke. That's so fitting.
That works actually. Yeah.
So it's pretty close to being the best one. I think the next one is the best, but Duke's was, I would say, tied for first, or like 1A, 1B. It's 1B.
That was pretty good. My expectations are high now.
I put the Chief in.
What'd you put him in? What'd you put him in?
I put him as the Chief. Okay.
Oh, Christ.
It came out as Commander Hostile. So
I like that one. I mean, because
it's fitting. It's perfect.
And that not only would fit with the Wu-Tang, but that would also fit with Public Enemy, who released a new album a couple weeks ago.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're back.
Yeah, maybe they have a guest appearance by Commander Hostile. Or Hostile, however you want to say.
Well, since they recorded before this podcast, probably not. But yeah, I bet you on the follow-up there is.
Yeah, maybe a single. I put in, obviously we haven't seen him yet. I put in William. It came out as Fire Drake Amazing. So I don't know how I feel about that one. It's pretty weird.
I kind of like that one. Yeah. Especially considering their it's filmed in Canada. Most of the actors are Canadian. So Drake's Canadian. Drake. Fire Drake. Yeah.
Fire Drake Amazing. I put the Rev in just as the Rev is what I entered. This one's maybe the worst one. I came out as Parrot Golden.
Parrot Golden. Parrot Golden is better than Bell Toad hot. Christ. I'd rather be Parrot Golden than Bell Toad. Fuck.
Okay, so I put in Vince Teague. It came out as Lion Master. So Lion Master, I thought it would have been fitting if it was Bear Master, considering the last episode they went up against a stuffed bear. But Lion Master is pretty good. He's got a nice mane, of hair still.
Yeah, no, the hair, and then later down the road, we're gonna learn more about him.
This one's Dave's, and it's fucking nuts. Dave's came up as Yellow Peril Twinkly. Dave's was great. Yellow Peril Twinkly. It was insane.
Yellow Peril Twinkly.
Because at first I thought it said Twinkie, and I was like, holy shit, Yellow Peril Twinkie. Like, this is great. Like, this is insane.
That one's crazy.
I was like, I don't know if on TV Dave could go as Yellow Peril anything. No. I don't think that's appropriate.
Yellow fever peril.
I don't know. Jess Minion I put in. This one's pretty weird. It's Stylist Slothful. Yeah, I don't know. So I was with it during the stylist part, and then when Slothful came up, I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know about that. I put in Dwight Hendrickson. That's Edge.
Adam Copeland.
It would have been awesome. I was like, man, please come back as Edge. Like, how cool would it be if his name came out of the generator as Edge? It did not.
Maybe something like Danger Edge.
Yeah, Danger Edge. Anything that had Edge in it would have been perfect, but it didn't. His name is still pretty cool. It's Dr. Thunderous.
Dr. Thunderous, huh?
It still sounds like a wrestling name. You can imagine a wrestler named Dr. Thunderous.
Hailing from Nova Scotia, Dr. Thunderous.
Yeah, so I thought he still had a good wrestling name, even though it wasn't Edge related. I put in Agent Howard.
Agent Ryan Howard.
I just put Agent Howard. I didn't know his first name. It came out Togue Drunken.
Togue?
Yeah, Togue.
Togue Drunken.
Yeah, Togue, which is a Canadian lake trout.
Wow.
So at least it's like Canadian or North American, at least like Canada, Maine area.
So Howard's sitting by the pier drinking 40s out of a paper bag, Togue Drunken.
Well, I thought he's drunk off a fish is how I take it.
Jesus Christ.
He's just like, not literally, but he's eating so much fish. It's like, oh, I'm drunk off these, I'm drunk on Twinkies, or he's drunk on sugar. Like, he's just drunk on Togue fish.
That's insane. Yeah.
I mean, at least it's fitting to the region. Even if it's the most insane, like, okay. So I did Eleanor Carr.
Doc Eleanor.
Her name is pretty good. I feel like it would have fit Jess better, but it's still a pretty cool name. It came out as Witch Bad.
Witch Bad. That's good. That's a cool name.
I entered Lucy, just the name Lucy. I got Crow Smiling.
Crow Smiling. I'm not feeling that one funny or.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
So Crow Smiling, is it?
Yeah. So Crow Smiling.
See, if you reversed it and did Smiling Crow, that could be a nice Native American name.
And then I entered just the name Mara, even though obviously we're not there yet, but I entered the name Mara, and I got Lamp Eye Tame. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. It is what it is. So those last two are pretty bad. And then last I entered James Cogan, our proverbial Colorado kid. And that one's pretty crappy too, just because it's too similar to a previous one. It came back as Commander Passionate. Which is too close to Commander Hostile, which is too perfect for the Chief. So
no, I mean, unless they were a hip hop duo,
Commander Hostile, Commander Passionate. One's like, well, then James Cogan would be kind of like the singer, he does like the more singy parts, and then Commander Hostile is like, the rapper. He does like the more rap parts.
Oh yeah. Chief is just coming out, blasting rhymes at people. And I mean, he's firing like Chuck D back in the day. I mean,
so that was all the Wu-Tang name generators. If you Join us on Patreon. We'll be giving you some crazy ass name that sounds as ridiculous as all of these. But we'll try to kind of give it a Haven Stephen King spin on it. And if you had any cool names for the characters that, you put them through a Wu-Tang generator or something, send them to us. I post on Reddit, so you can comment there, email us. I'm going to give you all the contact info. But if you have any funny Wu-Tang name generators, even for yourself, the characters, or you put our names through it, whatever, we'd love to hear them. They are always just so ridiculous and insane that they're funny no matter what. But that's it for episode 7. We'll be back for episode 8 in a week to return to Haven. And hope you return with us. The quickest way to reach us is by email. You can contact us at troubledrewatchpod@gmail.com. You can find us on a just an outrageous amount of places now, of services where you can listen to podcasts like Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Music. We'll also have the podcast up on YouTube. If that's all that is available to you, we'd certainly appreciate a review or a like. And if you can hit the subscribe button, depending on which service you're using. If you want the podcast straight from the source, though, you can visit us at troubledpodcast.com. We'll have all our episodes, news, and the like all in one place for you. If you want to follow us on Twitter for updates, you can follow us at Havens Troubled. That's a capital H and a capital T. Last but not least, if you look at what we've been doing so far, we are on Patreon, which we have mentioned many times in this podcast.
Too many, I know.
And we have shilled too much. But if you search for Troubled, there'll also be a link in the show notes. We're doing exclusive episodes over there. Our second episode is, as we mentioned, an album review for all the non-original songs that were included. We'd love if you join us. We would like to kind of upgrade some of our equipment and stuff, so that's what the money will be going to. There may be some merch in the future. We don't know. And if you have anything else you wanted to see for the patron exclusive, you can email us, contact us. We want to include you guys and get some user input. And we're always excited for feedback.
I want to thank everybody for listening. We truly appreciate your listenership. Hope you come back to Haven at least one more time with us next week. And please remember, this is Bell Toad Hot telling you, never let your troubles get you down.